Today what we're going to be talking about is breaking the laws of nature. Now, it's kind of funny. So when we understand nature, there's two sides of the coin, right? There's physical, right? Things that you can count, physical, right? Things that we can perceive through the senses, everything, atoms, that kind of stuff. And then there's also metaphysical, right? You consider that fields, you can consider that electricity, you could consider that ideas, emotions, things that aren't particularly quantizable, you know, or meaning and significance. That's not really quantizable either, but they have a reality, they have a dimension to them. Like there's something to them that exists, and they're significant. Okay, so now the reason why I'm making this video is because I watched the movie Doctor Strange, the I'm pretty sure Marvel movie Doctor Strange, and if you remember, there's a guy at the end of the movie. I forgot his name, but he was wearing green and he had like a sword or something on his back or whatever, and he's like, "Strange, you broke the laws of nature." You broke the laws of nature. There's a price to pay for breaking the laws of nature. Oh, that's funny. Oh, like if we think that, okay, metaphysics is reality too, and the physical is also reality. They're just two different sides of the same coin. They both exist. If you broke the laws of nature, you would basically be operating outside of reality, right? So let's see what he did. Well, he turned back time. Well, time is a metaphysical concept that humans came up to measure things. Did he break time? No. Well, no. He manipulated it. Humans can manipulate time because it's based on reference points, right? It's based on references. Um, and the thing is if he did operate outside of the whole, you couldn't even imagine breaking it. You couldn't even imagine something breaking physics. You couldn't even imagine something breaking something, right? So imagine, right, of course we have the physical reality, and we know that a celery stick, just to have an example that is easily tangible, a celery stick cannot be as large as a planet. It's impossible physically, okay? That's obvious. But we could imagine a celery stick in our mind, the idea of a celery stick, and imagine what it would be like if there was a celery stick as big as a planet, and then we put it on top of the planet, and what it would do. We could imagine that, couldn't we? Right? So, would that be breaking nature to think of that idea metaphysically? No. So if you can't imagine it, and even if we can't even like use our mind to even visualize something, does that mean it negates that we could possibly think about it? No, it doesn't. Right? It would be impossible to think about, right? Because like in the mind, everything's a little bit more fluid. You can think of these absurd ideas and put them together. Make things super big. You can make planets that are like the size of an entire galaxy, which is weird because that wouldn't work in reality. That wouldn't work in the physical world. But you can think of that as an idea, and metaphysics is also a part of reality. So if we're thinking about something metaphysically, right, it would be impossible to even think of something that would break the laws of nature. And the thing is, when somebody is reference of breaking the laws of nature, it's just because at that moment they didn't know that possibility, right? So if I said something happened in the world and I said that broke the laws of nature, well, it's just because I was ignorant of what was possible, and then it happened, and then now I know something that didn't match up with my preconceived notions of how the world works. Whenever somebody says this broke the laws of nature, you know that they don't know they don't know. That's basically an admission that they don't know, and now that's not bad. That's not bad because when we think about the absolute principle of knowledge, and where I'm at or where anybody else in the entire universe ever is at, it's practically nothing. Practically, just by comparison of an absolute principle. An absolute principle. Imagine the entirety of knowledge and information and then what we know. and you just compare those, you know, it's not even, it's crazy to think as in a comparison, right? Okay. So we got, so yeah, so basically if somebody says this broke the laws of nature, they previously did not know that that possibility was possible, and then it happened, and then it changes their worldview and it conflicts with their worldview or whatever they thought previously, right? It has nothing to do with the actual principle or laws of nature, because it would be impossible to actually break them. It would be impossible to even, well, because, then it would actually be included in the total principle, right? Because imagine you're like, okay, this is the laws of nature, and then something happened outside of it. Well, actually, that would be also included in nature. So really, it's just a perspective shift from here to here to here to here. But just because we had the perspective of seeing only this, only the solar system at one given point, right? And now our perspective is so much broader, does not mean it's the negation of the principle. And when we think of, okay, back in the day, thousands of years ago, when they had, astronomers or, what you would call astrologers, those people, they would look into the stars, and then they'd have like various ideas of what things meant, and then assign various deities or how the story came about where those were actually significant. But they didn't know subcluster B over here was there, right? They didn't know, but that doesn't mean that that subcluster that we discovered later wasn't there at the time. It was. It's just that we didn't have the ability to perceive it. Okay? So whenever somebody, or when I or anybody, and especially in that movie, says you just broke the laws of nature, they didn't. So I'd love to hear your comments below of what you think. Bye bye.